evening, everyone. Welcome to the Pitt County Board of Commissioners, meeting those of you in the audience and those of you by way of television and other social media. Welcome. At this time, we should have the roll call. All the present, please raise your right hand. Thank you. This time we should have the invocation and pledge, the invocation by Commissioner Garris and the pledge by Commissioner Huggins.
Let's all stand. Let's pray. Father, we thank you this evening for your many blessings upon us. We thank you once again for the opportunity of assembling together as a community. Father, for each one that is here and each one that may be viewing us by way of television, we pray that you might bless each one in our community. Help us all, Father, to seek to do what is best for our community and to serve you. We pray that you might be with us this evening as a board as we deliberate the various issues. Father, help us to do that which is pleasing in your sight and that which is best for the community that we represent. These blessings we pray in your holy name. Amen.
Amen.
Face the flag, please.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Prior to the approval of the agenda, our manager, I think, would like to make some requests.
Yes, sir. We wanted to move up, Mr. Chairman, the items of presentation before the public hearing, since the public hearings may go on for a little while. And also, wanted to note also on the agenda, under items for decision, the Candlewick project. We've had some calls in the office today questioning whether this was actually a public hearing on the Candlewick item. It is not. So if there are any Candlewick residents in the audience, if you're wanting to speak on that, you need to sign up for public addresses to the board, and I believe those sign-ups are in the back, or when we get to that point in the agenda, you can request to be heard.
Move approval as adjusted, Mr. Chairman.
Second it.
It's been moved and properly seconded that we approve the agenda with the necessary adjustment. All in favor of the said motion, let it be known by raising the right hand. All opposed? Ayes have it. Thank you. At this time, we shall begin now with the presentation. Get a motion for approval.
Motion to approve.
Second.
All in favor? Right hand. All opposed? Ayes have it. Thank you.
So the first item we have on the agenda tonight is a proclamation to recognize the CM High School Alumni Association Week. Mr. Chairman, if we have any representatives from the Alumni Association?
The President, Mr. Jim.
Come forward. And we have this prepared proclamation. If you'd like to read it, Mr. Chairman.
Say
Hello. Welcome.
it.
Entitled Office of the Pitt County Board of Commissioners, Proclamation Recognizing the CM High School Alumni Association Week. Whereas the Greenville Industrial CM High School alumni will be celebrating their 38th anniversary from June 30th through July 2nd, 2017 in honor of Charles Montgomery CM Eppes. And whereas CM High School has been known by numerous names including Greenville Industrial High School, Greenville Graded School, 5th Street, or Fleming Street School. And whereas Charles Montgomery CM Eppes began his educational career in Greenville in 1903 and served many years as principal in the Greenville City Schools. As an educator and principal, CM Eppes was very instrumental in assuring that quality education was afforded to everyone. And whereas in 1932, CM Eppes was appointed by Governor O. Max Gardner to serve on North Carolina's Interracial Relations Committee, which held its statewide convention in Greenville that year. And whereas because of his dedication to education in his community, CM Eppes High School, CM Eppes Middle School, and the CM Eppes Recreation Center were named in his honor. And whereas the CM Eppes Alumni Association has an active roster of members that are service-driven and focused on the betterment of our community. And whereas the CM Eppes Alumni Association played an instrumental role in the West 5th Street streetscapes design and implementation, as well as the renovations of the Eppes Recreational Center. Now therefore be proclaimed by the Pitt County Board of Commissioners that we do hereby recognize the 38th Annual CM Eppes High School Alumni Celebration on June 30th through July 2nd, 2017, adopted this 19th day of June 2017, signed by our chairman, Melvin McLaughlin, and by our deputy clerk, Janet T. Singleton. Mr. Chairman?
Congratulations. Thank you very much. Anything you'd like to say? This is the president of the Greenville Chapter of Alumni Association, Jimmy Jones.
I'd just like to say thanks, and I'd like to say and invite you guys out to come to our parade, and then you want to stop by the school Saturday, July the 1st, and just see what we do during our breakfast, and just come and tour the grounds. I was very instrumental in the seascape out there, the landscape out there, and I would like for y'all to come out and look at it, comments or whatever. But we need the city, the county, and each other. And in order to have all these things that is required, we must work together. Thank you.
Thank you. Once again, Joe, thank you.
Yeah, let's just in the middle. You can take a picture.
This, I think this is.
Thank you, Jimmy. Appreciate you.
It's called and down because this next one is the Belvoir item. It's called and down.
Okay. At this time, we have a very special presentation, and it's someone that you all know very well. It's Commissioner Ann Huggins. She was presented the Order of Longleaf Pine, the highest award in the state of North Carolina by Governor Roy Cooper. And we certainly want to recognize her at this time. And also, I think it's Commissioner Huggins' birthday.
Yes.
So
Don't say how old she is, Mel.
we'll be celebrating her birthday recognition. Now, I can tell her age if you want me to, but I can hold that, let you tell her
Better
then. So, but
Oh my gracious, this is a surprise.
Is it right here also? You want to join us right there?
do we have any of her family members here?
No, because they didn't know anything about it.
No,
What's up?
your family did know about it, but they
That's
couldn't be
right.
here.
Oh, okay.
They told me about it.
The ones who knew about it
Oh,
couldn't
there's
be.
one coming, there
Here they
they are.
come.
All right, okay.
They thought it was going to be more towards the
Come on
end.
in.
You can come on up.
Come on up and be with her.
Come on.
We'll take pictures.
We'll take pictures.
They don't want to come.
Christopher,
Come join her.
Christopher, come,
Come on.
come, Christopher. Since we had Justin last time. This is my youngest grandson.
Okay, Jester.
No, this is Christopher.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, would you like me to read the
I would.
order?
Yes, sir.
Okay. It's entitled, State of North Carolina, Roy Cooper, Governor, reposing special confidence in the integrity, learning, and zeal of Ann Floyd Huggins, I do by these presents confer the Order of the Longleaf Pine, with the rank of Ambassador Extraordinary, privileged to enjoy the fully all rights granted to members of this exalted order, among which is the special privilege to propose the following North Carolina toast in select company anywhere in the free world. Here's to the land of the longleaf pine, the summer land where the sun doth shine, where the weak grow strong and the strong grow great. Here's down home, the old North State. Signed by our Governor Roy Cooper, signed and dated June 19th, 2017. Mr. Chairman, would you like to present that?
Yes. Congratulations.
Well, thank you.
Right.
Any comments?
Oh, I am just surprised. I'm lost for words, but I really appreciate, I don't know who initiated this.
It's your children.
Your children.
That's right.
Well, I thank my girls, Sheila, Starla, and this is Sabrina, my youngest one, for initiating this. I'm just thankful, and I thank Melvin and the county manager for the presentation. Thank you.
Congratulations.
Thank
Thank
you.
you. Well, thank you. I'm just leave it to my children to do something for my birthday.
At
Something
this time, we're going to ask
different.
Jeffrey Allen Warren to come in recognition of the Belvoir Area Athletic and Recreational Program.
Or his representative.
Uh,
Anybody here from the Belvoir?
I think he's here.
Okay.
The mic, yes.
Mike, you say. If you would, again, Jeffrey, state your name and your address.
My name is Jeffrey Warren. I'm Alan's father. Unfortunately, he couldn't be here tonight because he's playing in the championship tournament. Speak your name.
My name is Shanita Waters, and my son also plays with Coach Jeffrey Warren.
My name is Curtis Keys. I'm a coach within Southern Pitt Baseball. It's youth baseball in the rural areas of Pitt County. And in those areas, they call me Coach Keys. And I'm here to represent Southern Pitt.
My name is Valerie May. My son also plays with Coach Allen. Hey, everybody, I'm Sharon Nicholson. My little boy is Lonnie Nicholson, and he plays with Southern Pitt, and he made 12 All-Stars this year. Please help us.
And my name is Ashley Watkins, and I'm also here on behalf of the Southern Pitt Baseball Association and Coach Warren.
Thank you.
First of all, I'd like to say thank you for hearing us this afternoon. As on today, we've chosen to hear my request for the community and the financial support of Belvoir Area and Recreational Program, which entails the support of the Southern Pitt 12 and under All-Star team. On today, I have made a series of important decisions, all of which are crucial. In lieu of being present today at this board meeting for a request that I've made, I've had to respectfully and crucially make the decision to be present at the 2017 North Carolina Baby Ruth Cal Ripken Eastern Division 12 and under area championship game. As currently and humbled it sits to hear this request, I am pushing my Southern Pitt 12 and under All-Star team towards a state championship title. At 6 p.m. today, we'll begin playing the championship game, undefeated for the Cal Ripken East Division number 2 title, and have already secured a top berth in the 2017 North Carolina Cal Ripken State Championship Tournament on Sunday, June 18th. Okay. Again, as I previously stated, this request serves a multiple purpose for me. It's my current involvement and success that will help build the Belvoir Area Recreational Program and to flourish. A part of this involvement entails working with the youth from Belvoir area in northern Pitt County. Currently on the Southern Pitt 12 and under All-Star team, I have several of these youth and their families, some of which chosen to sacrifice being in our championship game and their child tonight to be here to this request. Should that further state in how important this request is to our youth and team, as I alluded to earlier, our team is headed to Lawrenceburg, North Carolina, to compete and represent Pitt County in North Carolina State Championship Tournament. It is within a direct regard that I have appealed to the Pitt County Board of Commissioners today that these talented youth that represent Pitt County now need your assistance. Many of these youth and their family endure numerous hardships and still remain persistent to stay positive, productive, and active citizens. Along with pushing and challenging, developing, and mentoring our youth comes many financial responsibilities. In order to alleviate some of this burden, if not all, I have made this request for financial support. And we would like to hear from Southern Pitt at this point, and I think you have the necessary documents on your desk to support the needs and financial support that would be on the Southern Pitt.
Okay.
We do.
Could I say something?
Yes, sir.
In 2011, I was fortunate enough to coach a team that went to California to the Cal Ripken World Series. Southern Pitt is rural, and we have different sites that we play at, so we travel to those sites within Southern Pitt. It's a great experience for these kids to go to state tournaments, regional tournaments, and even if they can make it to a World Series, it was just a blessing. The kids that we took to a World Series in 2011, When they were 11, they went to McKenzie, Tennessee. And 11-year-olds, every team doesn't go to a World Series, they go to different levels. Well, that team actually went to McKenzie to the Southeast Regionals and won it. We finished third the next year with that same group of kids in Visalia, California. We finished third. The thing I'm trying to say is the travel and the stress that's on these parents, some of them have to miss work. I think we went to Demopolis, Alabama for our Southeast Regionals. We were gone for 10 days. We came back a week, and we were headed to California for 10 days. It's a stress on parents. They miss work. They want to be there with their kids. And it's a great experience for these kids because they mostly rural, but they come from the city of Greenville and surrounding areas. And it made me proud to know that we was in California and we were representing Pitt County. When Visalia's, the host team, they drew from 500 kids. We drew from 25 kids. And they thought that was remarkable. But for us to be out there representing Pitt County, which they call it Pitt County, North Carolina, and we had to explain to them Pitt County was the county, you know, within North Carolina. But that was all right too. But what we're trying to say, we need help. We need help to be able to get these kids from point A to point B, make sure they're secure, make sure the coaches don't have to worry about, you know, finances, to get their teams there to compete for a state championship. I don't know exactly where their regional will be at, but most of the time their regional, it could be out of state. But it is a big opportunity for these kids. They're 12-year-olds. A lot of them will be playing middle school ball next year, and this will help them grow. Because like I said about that 2011 team, those kids went to a Southeast Regionals when they were 11, 12, they went to a World Series, and like I said, that was a blessing. I've been coaching 26 years. This is my 26th year. And I know it was a blessing because for those kids to take me to that journey, it's nothing like it, to see those kids grow like that. So I'm just asking you to help these kids. We have from 7 all the way up to 12. The 12-year-old team just started their area tournament. The rest of the teams are starting next weekend with their area tournaments and state tournaments. The younger kids don't go as far as, you know, the 7, 8, and 9. They don't go as far as the 11, 12, and the 10-year-old. But I just want to thank y'all. I watch all on TV all the time. I had to say that. And I thank y'all for listening and taking the time to hear. Just a lot of good things going on in Southern Pitt. It's baseball, but it's teaching so much more. Coach Allen is an outstanding coach. And I wouldn't be here supporting him if I didn't think so. But he's had such a great rapport with these kids. And like I said, with the parents, they do the best they can. But the number one thing is these kids, make sure they have, and we can get them point A, from point A to point B, and let them enjoy the experience of playing in these tournaments. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
I've already secured a berth to play in the Little League World Series already.
Okay, good.
And I just, for those of you that aren't familiar with Southern Pitt baseball, maybe we should have started with that. If you're not an avid baseball fan, Southern Pitt baseball is a Cal Ripken Babe Ruth sanctioned league made up of smaller municipalities within Pitt County. It is not associated with any recreation departments. It's not funded by recreation departments. They're funded sort of independently through smaller nonprofit organizations, which does make a difference when it comes down to how far our players can go. The benefit of that is we don't require a lot of them to be able to play. You can't pay the fee, we're still gonna take you. If you don't have a bat, we're gonna find you one, because there's nothing that should keep a child from being part of a team and, you know, learning life lessons on and off the field. Aiden, Bristol, Simpson, Bethel, all sorts of areas are what comprise our league. So we're kind of surrounding, but we play some great baseball and we have some extremely talented youth that we are very proud of. And I tell you, if you guys didn't have a meeting tonight, you should come out to Winterville because you'd be missing a great game right now. So thank you for your time, and you know, we appreciate any consideration you would give to help these kids go to Laurinburg. They leave Friday, which is why there is sort of a panic. They didn't find out till this weekend that they qualified. It's very short term, and for some families, you know, that's a big undertaking. You know, now 3 to 4 nights in a hotel, you know, doesn't just come out of anywhere. So, thank you for your time.
Thank you. I understand that this will be independent from the Jackie Robinson Baseball League. It has no association with that league.
A lot of the players do play both, but it is completely separate. It's the Southern Pitt Association.
Very good. Okay.
Mr. Chairman, could I just ask, you named different towns that some of these, and I know that a lot of people don't live inside the city limits, but you maybe get your mail at Aden or get your mail in wherever you mentioned, Bethel or whatever. Have you considered talking to the city councils? I think it would certainly be well worth.
Right now, was kind of our starting point.
Okay. Well, I just
we
would.
Definitely, you know, we leave no stone unturned. And our individual leagues do sponsor as they can. Like I said, Aden Baseball League is a nonprofit in Aden. They, you know, they try to donate to help.
Right.
When it reaches a certain level, they all do. But again, you know.
Right, I understand, but I just, you know, I know that some of those councils, even though they are not the whole county, I'm sure they would like to be a part of it.
And some of them unfortunately do not meet, I don't think, before we.
Right. You can always go to the office, talk to whoever the manager is. But anyway, that was just an idea I had. Thank you all for being here.
Did you want to have something to say?
I met the lady in the glasses who came by the office, and she was talking to me. No, yes, she's the one that came to the office when they were out there cutting grass. And she was talking about the team and what it meant for her child. And when they asked and they sent me the email, I said, well, you come and do your own picture. Now, I'm not good at that. So it's good to see you tonight.
Thank you.
Okay, Scott. Scott?
You're helping keeping the children out the street. That's what I like about it.
So, Mr. Chairman, we placed this on the agenda at Commissioner Perkins Williams' request. And in terms of the financial aspect of this, in terms of the dollar amount, you've got in front of you a multi-page letter from them. They are asking for a $2,500 donation. And the original request was for Coach Jeffrey Allen to come and talk about the support of a Belvoir area recreation program. And I see this is also talking about supporting the Southern Pitt 12 and under all-star team as well. So I'm not sure what the request is going for, whether it's the Belvoir Community Recreation Program, the Belvoir area, or the Southern Pitt 12 and under all-star team.
It's basically for the 12 and under all-star baseball team because they leave Friday. But those are the things that he's been working towards, trying to get started in the community. But those things are going to take some more time.
I think he was just letting you know he's involved with the Belvoir area.
So what organization, if the commissioner so choose to give any money,
Southern
would?
Pitt Baseball League.
Southern Pitt.
Okay. All right. Okay. If the board,
That
the-
would complement all the Griffin and all the rest.
the budget for the new year has been passed, public hearing a couple weeks ago. However, the board chose to use contingency. That would be your prerogative.
Okay. Well, thank you very much, and we certainly appreciate your presentation. You'll be hearing back from us.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Let me ask one more question.
Another question for you.
Have you reached out to the community, to some of the companies, private companies, to sponsor the general donation, the silver, the gold, and the
Yes, sir.
platinum?
Yes, sir, we have.
We have.
Have you gotten any results?
Well, I myself may have a few going together, and we might hit the gold.
Okay.
Maybe by Friday. See, it's all come together so fast.
Okay.
I mean, you know, if I had a month, believe me, you know, we might not be up here asking right now, but I mean, it was just, we made it so fast. I mean, it was like we had angels in the outfield. I'm not gonna tell you no story. And we're blessed, and if you can help us, we won't let you down.
So if someone wanted to mail you a contribution, to whom would they mail it?
They can mail that to Southern Pitt Baseball, and I'd be glad to email in the address. I do not have that on me.
Well,
Yeah, I think that's
The
a good
email
deal.
ain't gonna take a contribution.
No, I'd be glad to email the address to mail it
if
to.
she
I'm
would
sorry.
post the address on our county site, I mean, I'm sitting here thinking I would be willing to make a donation.
And they've.
But I think that's kind of what, this is a difficult
Sure.
thing for us to do.
Absolutely.
As many communities as we have, and the health department, social services, the deputies, you know what I mean? And it's your taxpayers' money.
And we take all suggestions, and if, the problem, I guess, not the problem, we typically can't fundraise for a tournament we haven't made it to, which is why we're just starting this weekend
Okay.
with
Well-
fundraising. And so I know that my child personally is not actually on the 12U team. I have younger ones. I'm just here as part of the league, but I know the parents have definitely been passing them
If you would
on.
get that address to us, to the county, and they would at least get it to us, and maybe we could put it on the website
Absolutely.
also.
I'll be glad to do that. I believe Commissioner Perkins-Williams says, Alan, have your email?
I'd like,
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion that this board, because it's a large variety of rural areas of children, and I've not seen anything done for the rural areas of youth and helping them stay on target and out of trouble, I'd like to make a motion that we take it out of the contingency fund and support these outlining areas. If I can get a second.
I'll second it.
Has moved and properly seconded with question.
Yes, one more question. Now, if, like Beth said, she's willing to make a contribution, I'm willing to make a contribution. But one of the things that we always want to know when we make a contribution to an organization is it a tax-deductible contribution? Now, I see here you say that you filled out an application for a 501c3.
That is for, that is actually in
For the
Mr.
other.
Warren's other.
So what is
the
Southern
Southern
Pitt?
Pitt does have a tax
Does
ID
have
number.
one.
I do have it actually.
So it is a tax-deductible contribution. I think that's important.
Yes, is this page included? I'm sorry, I'm not sure that we got all the
Yes.
Yeah, I got
comments.
that.
On the very bottom of that page, it does not list the tax ID number, but he has stated it is.
Okay, I see that. Very good. Thank you.
Yes, sir. And I do have that number.
Okay, it has been moved and properly second to receive the money from the contingency fund. All in favor of the said motion, let it be known by raising your right hand.
How much money are you talking about in the motion? Did the motion have amount of money?
What was it,
$2,500. Again, all in
thank you.
favor, raise your right hand. All opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you for remembering.
Thank y'all so much.
Thank y'all so much. She came to me. I appreciate it, Tom, but I didn't know what to do.
At this time, we
She's
should
crying.
move into the items
She
for the
came out of
report.
office crying.
We
She said, "I can't afford to
public
buy
address to the board before that.
do what I can."
We have anyone sign up for the public address to the board? Mr. Andrew?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, we have two people signed up for public addresses to the board.
What to do.
You have the Jeffrey Warren, I believe who just spoke on the last matter, signed up. I think it's signed on the wrong list. And we have Mike Howell, I believe, if I'm reading the name correctly, if you'll come forward and give us your name and address.
Now, attorney will.
Yes, for public addresses, Pitt County welcomes all comments on matters of public concern, and I will keep your time, we're doing the public hearing, at 5 minutes.
No, this is.
Is this your public address or your public hearing?
Public address.
Public address. At 3 minutes.
I shouldn't need even that much time. My name is Mike Howell. I live at 1663 Chatham Way, Greenville. And I'm here to talk about the Candlewick area sanitary sewer. I was not listening in time when you made an announcement about the Candlewick thing. I think I understood it was not going to be aired by you tonight. Is that correct?
Not discussed.
The matter's on the agenda to be discussed by the board, but there was not a public hearing on it, as I think some people were calling in and asking. there is an agenda item for them to make a decision on what direction to take the project in terms of awarding a contract to begin the actual sanitary sewer service construction project.
Okay. I would still like to take the balance of my 3 minutes, if I may. And if I can read my chicken scratch here, I did not have time to print it out.
Since you have a scratchy voice, could you go into the mic?
Pull the mic a little bit closer. Just lean into it. There you go.
Thank you. My concern here tonight is for all the residents of the Candlewick Sanitary Sewer District and for those who will be affected by this sewer construction phase, but also those who live within Candlewick subdivision and the general Bunch Lane residents who will receive service at a later time. We received an email at 4:17 p.m. Friday afternoon from Richard Moore of McDavid Associates notifying us of this meeting tonight. He stated that he was directed by you, the Pitt County Board of Commissioners, to distribute your agenda, narrative, and narrative exhibits. He did so only to a list of Candlewick subdivision residents. No one in the Bunch Lane area of the district was notified per his email. McDavid's email was the only feedback we have had in several weeks. This project has been a long journey for most of us over the last 8 years. We have been included seldomly in any updates. I had questions about this notification process myself, and today talked to Julie Kubata with the North Carolina Division of Water Infrastructure in Raleigh. She is the CDBG unit supervisor. I found her to be very helpful. She was not aware that we had no input before this Friday email. She thought a more timely discussion with our group should have been offered. When I asked about the deadline for consummating this contract to meet the end of June urgency, she said this was just cause for her agency to extend the deadline if the Pitt County Commissioners requested this in order to notify all who are affected by the project. I ask that you consider delaying your action on this matter until such time as you can answer real questions about the future of our neighborhoods in a more timely and appropriate manner. Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
That's all we have signed up, unless there's anybody else in the audience.
Anyone in the audience? I hear none. At this time, we're going to ask Dwayne Holder if he will come for the GFOA Popular Annual Financial Report.
We need to go back up to the public hearings.
Yes.
We need
Public
to go
hearing.
back up to the public hearings.
Okay. Want to go do that now?
Yeah.
Okay, at this time, we will go do the public hearing. The county initiated rezoning. Kenneth and Deborah Briley, rezoning request by Eric Goodby.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We do have 2 rezoning requests tonight. The requests were from the April 17th Board of County Commissioners meeting, at which time the commissioners approved the county to initiate the request. The first request is to rezone 5.2 acres on Ramshorn Road near the intersection of US 264 East and Ramshorn Road's parcel number 67331 from general commercial to rural residential. You see the area highlighted in yellow was a request that was taken by the board at the April 17th meeting, and you see it left a sliver of general commercial along Ramshorn Road. This first property here, the 5.2 acre tract, is predominantly zoned general commercial, but there's currently an existing residence on the property. So the board did vote to initiate this request at the April 17th meeting. The planning board has heard this at its May 17th meeting. They recommended approval of the request. You see the subject property here, again, just an aerial view. You see it's predominantly agricultural and some residential uses along Ramshorn Road. The current existing or the future land use plan or future land use map of the land use plan shows it as being rural residential agricultural. That designation is intended to include low-density residential, agriculture, forestry, churches, very limited commercial, office, or public institutional uses. The existing land use map, you see it's currently designated as residential. There is a house on the property, and all the surrounding properties are agricultural or undeveloped. And again, the current zoning on it is general commercial. The RR district is intended to accommodate low-density, single-family residential uses, associated public institutional uses in areas that do not have access generally to water or sewer systems. Staff finds that the request is consistent with the land use plan due to the existing residents on the property and its location adjacent to existing rural residentially zoned properties. We also find that the request is reasonable and within the public interest because of the majority of surrounding properties are similarly zoned. Again, the planning board reviewed the request and voted unanimously to recommend approval of it. Staff does recommend approval to rezone the property from general commercial rural residential, and also recommends that the request is consistent with the land use plan and reasonable and within the public interest. And with that, Mr. Chair, we'd like to open up the public hearing.
Thank you very much. Now declare the public hearing open. Those of you who would like to speak on this request, will you please come forward?
Mr. Chairman, there's nobody signed up on this particular item unless there's somebody in the audience.
Okay. No one like to speak in the audience? I hear none. Now we should see the pleasure of our commissioner.
Motion to approve.
I declare the public hearing closed at this time. Now the public hearing. Public hearing closed now. The commissioner, I'm sorry, Jimmy.
Motion to approve.
Second it.
That's been moved and properly seconded. We approve this. All in favor of said motion, let it be known by raising the right hand. All that do not approve, raise your hand. Motion carried. Thank you. You up
And
again, Mr. Gould?
The second request tonight is sort of in tandem with the previous request. Again, this was the second part of the county-initiated rezonings. This is a 3.1 acre tract located on Ramshorn Road near the intersection of US 264, parcel number 2381. And again, also recommending rezoning from general commercial to rural residential. Again, the piece that was rezoned on April 17th, and then the tract that's part of this request is just to the north as well, and also adjacent to the one you just heard. Again, the board did vote to initiate this request on April 17th. The planning board also heard this at its May 17th meeting and recommended approval. Again, this is subject property. Land use plan also designates this as rural residential agricultural. Again, intended to include low-density residential uses, agriculture, forestry, churches, office and public institutional uses, meeting locational criteria. Existing land use survey shows that this is an predominantly agricultural undeveloped tract of land. You see there's also residential properties around it. Again, the general commercial, you see the commercial portion of it is actually just the two corners on the southern end of this property. Again, rural residential is intended to accommodate low-density, single-family residential uses and associated supporting public and institutional uses. Staff does find that the request is consistent with the land use plan. The rezoning will help minimize potential conflicts between incompatible land uses, and it's adjacent to existing RR zone properties. We also find that the request is reasonable and within the public interest due to the surrounding similarly zoned properties. Planning board reviewed this request on May 17th and also recommended approval unanimously, and to advise the request is consistent with the land use plan and reasonable and within the public interest. And staff also recommends approval of the request. So with that, Mr. Chairman, I'd like to open the public hearing.
Thank you. Ms. Mann?
Mr. Chairman, once again, nobody signed up on this matter as well.
Okay. Now declare the public hearing closed. Pleasure of the commissioners.
Motion to approve.
I second it.
Has been moved and properly seconded. We approve this request. Those in favor of the said motion, let it be known by raising your right hand. Those opposed, motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
You up again, Mr. Goop?
Yes, sir. The third and final public hearing we have for you tonight is a conditional use permit request. It is by Southern Land and Timber. This is known as the Webb Sand Mine. We have to follow quasi-judicial procedures with this request. The purpose of the hearing is to establish facts and not to gather opinions about the desirability of the project. Witnesses have to be under oath. Cross-examination must also be allowed. Testimony must be supported by relevant, competent material evidence. The board must maintain a detailed record of its hearing. There should be no ex parte communication. Written findings of fact are required, and any reasons for disapproval must be provided in writing, and that decision may be appealable to Superior Court. So with that, Mr. Chair, we'd like to go ahead and swear in any witnesses for tonight.
At this time, we have any witnesses, any people who'd like to speak on this?
Mr. Chairman, there's 8 people signed up to speak on this, so anybody in the audience who would like to speak on this matter needs to come forward to the podium to be sworn in, please.
As I mentioned, this request is by Southern Land and Timber. It's for a conditional use permit to allow for a new sand mine. The total permitted area would be 138.5 acres. That includes 15.5 bonded acres. So the 15.5 acres would be the actual area included in the active digging site. It's property owned by James and Jerry Emmert, located on Shepherd Mill Roads, parcel number 33464. Comprehensive land use plan designates the parcel as rural residential agricultural, as well as agricultural open natural resource. This is the third public hearing that will be held for this request. The first was on April 17th for this board. The board voted to recommend that the request be referred to the planning board. Following advice from our legal staff, the planning board did hold a separate public hearing on their own using the same quasi-judicial procedures as you'll be using tonight. And the board did recommend approval 5-4, and I'll have some more information on that. The current zoning of the property is rural agricultural. You can see it's located on the eastern side of the county, right near the Beaufort County line. Existing land use map shows it's primarily agricultural and undeveloped land with a few limited residential properties in the area. As for Section 8 of the zoning ordinance, there are certain development standards for sand mines. These include a minimum 100-foot use separation from the edge of any pit. When there's blasting involved, for instance, of a quarry, there would be hours of operation that are required. We're not proposing any hours of operation on this mine. There's also screening required, either through existing vegetation or a berm. And they must obtain their state-issued mining permit. This is the site plan of the property. See, the area highlighted in blue is the actual property line. And then the dashed red line would be the boundary of the mining permit itself. So that would be the total acreage. It's surrounded by existing vegetation, which they're proposing to maintain as part of their screening requirements. And then the actual bonded acreage, as I mentioned, the 15.5 acres will be towards the southeastern side of the property, towards the back. And that 15.5 acres also includes the Hall Road, which leads up and comes out on the northern end of the property. I've spoken with the property owners today, and they provided this map. They are proposing to add some additional buffering that's not shown on the site plan. They'll be up to speak about that, I'm sure, at the public hearing. But they would like to, just to give an indication, the red dash lines you see on the screen, that would be the general outline of the mining area. And then the yellow highlighted portion would be the additional buffering that they're proposing to include. There are several criteria in the zoning ordinance that have to be met. If they do not meet these criteria, then the board should deny the permit. The first is whether it will materially endanger the public health or safety. Staff believes that due to the separation, at least a minimum 100-foot separation, they exceed that in just about all areas of the mine. It'll also be screened by existing vegetation for buffering. We do not believe it will materially endanger health or safety of the public. They will substantially injure the value of adjoining or abutting properties. Again, there's going to be a significant separation between adjoining properties. The mine will not be visible from those areas. So therefore, we don't feel that it will not substantially injure the value of those properties. That it will be in harmony with the area in which it's to be located. It's a predominantly agricultural area with very limited residential uses. Also, there's an existing sand mine within close proximity to this location. And whether it be in conformity with the land use plan, thoroughfare, or other plans officially adopted by the commissioners. And we feel like it does conform with the land use plan and will not impede the county's thoroughfare plan. Again, the planning board did hold a public hearing. They used quasi-judicial procedures and voted 5-4 to recommend approval of the request and also to accept those additional conditions that are being proposed by planning staff tonight. So staff does recommend 2 motions. The first motion would be to acknowledge that the permit application is complete and that it complies with all the applicable requirements of the zoning ordinance. The second motion will be to recommend approval of the conditional use permit subject to the development standards of the zoning ordinance, as well as the following additional conditions. First is to obtain a no-rise certification for any portions of the mine that are located within the non-encroachment area. And that would be the floodway area. They have a small containment berm, and a portion of that actually kind of juts into the floodplain or the floodway. And so they could move that and it would satisfy that requirement. They wouldn't have to get a no-rise certification at that point. Also, to comply with all applicable NCDOT requirements, and that just refers to the improvements that DOT is requiring for the entrance. There are certain improvements that have to be made to that to meet their standards. And then also to provide a revised site plan indicating that additional buffer area that was being proposed by the applicant. And again, that's just to reiterate where that proposed buffer is. So with that, Mr. Chairman, we'd like to open up the public hearing.
Okay. I now declare the public hearing open. Mr. Manager, we have a...
Yes, we have a list of people. First, we have Bill Langley. And if the attorney will give us the parameters of the public hearing,
Yes.
comments and time.
For the public hearing, Pitt County welcomes all comments on matters relating to the conditional use permit applied for by Southern Land and Timber, and I'll keep your time at 5 minutes per speaker.
Good afternoon. My name is Billy Langley, and I live on Shepherd Mill Road. 1757 is my address. My property line is within 1,200 feet of the proposed mine. I've been very adamant in my objection to the mine. But in recent times, I've talked to the owner, or one of the owners of the land. I feel better about it. I'm not satisfied about it, but I feel better about it. We're all going to have to give and take some here, I think. But I believe that whatever conditions, excuse me, are included here need to be binding. I don't think we need somebody to say, well, yes, we're going to do this. I think we need paperwork that follows up and says, yes, we're definitely going to do this, and we're not going to do that. We have a lot of people here tonight with strong objections. And I think some of those objections can be overridden if we feel like we're going to be treated fairly and we're going to be promised something and it's going to be delivered. I've spent some time this week talking with Jerry Emmett, very nice man from Wisconsin, and have toured the land where the mine's going to be or proposed to be. And I think he's coming from his heart when he says he's going to do most to make it right. I mean, he didn't have to come from West Virginia. I mean, from Wisconsin, excuse me, and spend time with me and Branch Goodson to show us around and ask our opinions and ask our concerns. So we feel good about that part of it. But I'm speaking a little bit out of turn here because what I'd like to see is Southern Land and Timber make their presentation and then open it to comments about their presentation, because I can only speak for myself. I'm not speaking for the entire community, and not everybody agrees with my opinion. Some do and some don't. So with that, I'll just turn it over to whoever the next speaker might be. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, we can go in the order of the speakers?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Millie Goodson?
Sorry, it would be nice to see the presentation first. I want to thank you all for listening to us. I know you've heard us.
If you want the gentleman to make his presentation first.
Then allow us to
Okay,
speak. I think that would be wise.
We can do that.
Might limit some of your.
Very good. We can entertain that.
Both of them are saying it would be proper.
Okay. Again, you've appeared with us several times. You want to give your name again and your address and who you represent.
My name is John Hilton. My address is 1224 Pickens Street, Columbia, South Carolina. I represent Southern Land and Timber, which is the landowner of the proposed site. We appreciate the opportunity to speak this evening. We appreciate you guys giving us the opportunity to go back in front of the planning board, make those presentations there, hash out these issues there. That was a wise move, and we were glad to see the planning board make that approval. And happy to be back here again tonight. And this was you've already seen this once, but the two main items that we want to talk about are the things that we have met with and discussed with, as Mr. Langley alluded to, two of the landowners this week. Mr. Emmerich, one of the owners, he traveled down from Wisconsin, toured the property with them, looked at both their home sites in relation to the site, and then toured the mine site itself. And the two things that they were very concerned with, which have been obviously concerns throughout the process, was the sound, the noise levels, and the truck traffic, and how the truck traffic was going to be directed. So to both of those items, to the noise levels, the discussion surrounded restricting essentially development, and particularly the timber harvest, of two portions of our site that are not actually in our mining permit per se, but are part of the overall tract that we own. The first is approximately 54 acres to the south, that is predominantly wetlands, watershed area. And then we've got what is effectively a 200-foot strip that's going to run to the north and zag to the west, zigzag to the north of the west, up to the northern property line. You can see it there on your map, running on the western side there, running north and west, northwest, north to the northern property line. That northern property line is where the haul road is depicted on our permit, and you can also see it here where you see the red outline running to the west all the way out to Shepherd's Mill Road. So part two of the discussion, part one was we wanted to have this area restricted, particularly to the timber harvesting for the sound buffer that the timber is going to provide there. Part two was that they didn't want to have the mine road coming out in the middle of those two fields. And that would be basically at the first jog to the west that you see. It takes a jog north, first jog to the west. There's a road there. There's an easement that runs out to Shepherd's Mill Road that is not part of our current permit, but certainly could be a part of a future permit as this permit were changed. And what we are proposing and requesting is that be made a restriction as part of our conditional use permit for this entire site, that in the future, that if we should want to, we would be restricted from using that road as a haul road. And what that's going to do is that is going to restrict and isolate that in and out truck traffic to that northern boundary, which is as far away from the residences or many of the residences that are objecting as can be. We feel like we have a good site here, as good as any site that you'd find in the state of North Carolina or Pitt County. We are 1,800 feet. The corner of our mine, you could look at the northwest corner or the southwest corner, the southwest being slightly closer to Shepherd's Mill Road. That is approximately 1,800 feet from the paved road from that site. We're approximately 1,500 feet from our closest structure. You couple that with the fact that we're going to be leaving this timber buffer in addition to the normal berms and other mining buffers that would be involved within the mine permit. This will actually be outside of the mining permit itself and would be an additional buffer that would run there and is going to provide a significant amount of sound barrier. I believe that's all I would have to lead with, and we'd like the opportunity to respond to any questions that you may have or that the public may have. And I'd like to conclude with saying that we really are trying to work with the community to make them feel that we're doing everything that we can to have as minimal an impact as we can on the community.
Thank you very much.
Mr. Chairman,
any questions?
I'm not letting the man that just spoke, that said he'd like to respond after their presentation, if he'd like to come back before you go to the young lady.
I have no problem.
Billy Langley.
Yes, sir, Mr. Lang.
I'm still Billy Langley. One of my concerns, and I don't expect that to be addressed here right now because it's going to be a long ways down the road, but we're talking the potential for mining 4 to 5 times as much sand in this location as we were in the current location where they're mining. So we're talking 30 years down the road, 20 years down the road. It's going to be a long, long mining process. I don't want you guys to lose the notes you take tonight. You know what I'm saying? If you're going to enforce, if you're going to ensure that these restrictions are abided by, I want you to keep good notes. And 20 years from now, I may not be here, but my kids will. I want these restrictions to stay, to be permanent. I think that, any questions?
Your basic request is that you wanted to be binding.
Right.
What's been said?
I want them to be binding.
Yes, sir.
And I think they're in agreement with that. You know, I don't think we're going against the grain here. Mr. Emmett has been very forthcoming in saying that he wanted us to feel comfortable with it. And here's a perfect opportunity right here to make us feel comfortable.
I think when you requested that, when you were speaking before, I think all of us up here, with the experience we had previously, you know, with the other mine, and we had to take care of things, and things were not being followed up on that were expected. And I think that the gentlemen have recognized that fact, and I totally agree with you. And I'm sure our attorney will help us, whoever's coming down the road, to make sure that all of these guidelines and restrictions will be in place, and if someone has a complaint, they will let it be heard immediately instead of waiting, you know, until it gets to where it's been there too long. So I think that's a great request,
really
and I don't know what's the best way to word it. Maybe the attorney could help us.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, anytime you have a quasi-judicial proceeding like this evening and you issue or non-issue a permit, the legal department does draft for the chairman's signature an order that sets forth the permit and any special conditions, and then that is the written document that is maintained permanently with the clerk to the board that serves as the basis for future enforcement by the planning department.
Okay. Very good. Yep. And I would like to add that I really feel that the setback on the mine is good. I don't think it's going to get, the mine pit itself is going to give us any heartache. I do believe trucks are going to be a problem. And I know that we're not going to solve the problem with trucks here tonight, and the mine people are not going to solve it either. But I think there are ways to solve that problem also. I think the DOT can step in and put up some signs and write a few tickets, and I think everything will calm right down. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, so we go back to Ms. Goodson.
If some of his comments is in agreement with those of you in the audience that you may not want to come to the MAC, you certainly have that pleasure not to come if he's made a statement. But those of you who were called on, if you'd like to come, you still have that privilege to come. Okay? Thank you.
If you can give us your name and address again.
It's Melissa Goodson, 1492 Shepherd Mill Road. I had a prepared speech, but some of it has been answered, so I won't go from it. I want to thank all of you for listening to us. I know that you've heard from us several times from various members in the community, and Commissioner Perkins-Williams for coming out and visiting with us. She spent quite a bit of time out there. It's a really big deal to us. I keep hearing how there's just a spattering of homes out there, but they're nice homes. We've invested 27 years in building a very nice home, and we are a community. We share common ground, and it's not, you know, a matter of we don't matter, I don't think. We certainly pay taxes. Just because we're not high density shouldn't matter to you. It's still your county. It's still your responsibility. So one of the things I wanted to point out that the planning board voted 5-4, and one of the members on the board owns us, or he has a sand pit himself. So there was a lot of reservation on that board, and that concerns me. It really concerns me. Mr. Hilton has been very professional and handles himself very well in these meetings, but where was he when all of the bad things going on with the other mine were? He was supposed to be managing that. Who's going to be really managing this one? Who's going to be looking after it and making sure they follow your guidelines? Does the planning department have the time? Do they have the resources to come out there and visit it? I mean, we have it all in our hearts that we will do this, but do they have the time? Is it reasonable request? Can we monitor these things? And then conditional permits you're talking about putting these guidelines in the conditional permit. They get renewed, they get changed. What do we do to be sure that it stays in there? And this is our homes. Can we trust you? Can we trust the planning department? Can we trust the operator to do this for us? Thank you.
Thank you.
Next, we have Elizabeth Ewan.
My name is Elizabeth Ewan. I live at 1662 Shepherd Mill Road. And I like what I'm hearing up until the addressing of the trucks. We get an average of, I would say, 3 to 6 trucks down our road every day. My house is not on the road. We're set back. And I can still hear it in my kitchen. Some of the houses in the neighborhood are on the road. I've heard from people that the trucks make the dishes rattle, the windows rattle. You can't have a conversation when the trucks are going by. And I know this isn't going to be addressed tonight, but with everything else being addressed, this needs to be addressed. We can't have a peaceful, quiet neighborhood with 6, 7 trucks going down every hour. I mean, and it's from 6 in the morning until 8 o'clock at night. So there's no real time where you have the opportunity to sit in your yard or sit by the pool without hearing the noise from the trucks. The noise from the mine, okay, the trees will block it a bit, but these trucks have to be, something needs to be done about the trucks. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, next, James Ewan.
Good evening. My name is James Ewan, 1662 Shepherd Mill Road. We have the property right next door. Now, when they were taking the trees out of this property, besides the racket that the stores were making, that woke me up every morning. They came, they went, okay. But at the same time, they had a lot of trucks, the log trucks, going in and out of this property all day long. So I have an idea of what kind of noise that this is going to make. Everybody else is kind of speculating, well, it's going to be, you know, and there's a buffer, but I know how much noise it's going to be making. And it was a considerable amount of noise. And it did disturb us every day. I have a lot of horse pasture. We have horses. We like our nice, quiet neighborhood. And when this was going on, it wasn't a nice, quiet neighborhood. Now, luckily, that only lasted a few weeks. They got all the logs out, they left, everything went back to normal. But once this sand mine is in here, this is going to be permanent noise. This is going to be probably for the rest of our lives. We moved here to retire in a nice, quiet, peaceful residential area. And once this sand mine's there, we're not going to have it. And once it's there, it's there. It's not going to go nowhere. You're not going to all of a sudden say, oh, well, you're making too much noise, take the sand pit away. That's not going to happen. Once it's there, it's going to be there, and we're going to be stuck with it. Now, we have all invested many years and a lot of money making our nice little community, and I just don't want to see it ruined. We have all put in a lot of effort into this area. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, we've heard from John Hilton, Mark Edwards.
I'm Mark Edwards, 604 Tarver Street. I'm basically just here also representing the owners and to answer any questions from you or from the community regarding the state permitting process. So if there's any question regarding that, I can address that.
Okay. Thank you.
Jerry Emmert.
I'm Jerry Emmert, 1881 140th Avenue, Baldwin, Wisconsin. John Hilton's been speaking on our behalf. I guess I just wanted to say that, well, I did get the chance to get out there last week and meet with a few of these people, and they're good people. They've got nice property, and we're very conscious of that. Sorry, this isn't my specialty. I guess the other, I just want to make the point that we're not here to, and I'm one of 4 owners, so I'm speaking on behalf of all of us, I guess, but we're not here to just try to impose our will. We want to be good neighbors. We feel that it's a very good site due to the natural characteristics and buffering. The other thing that I would say is that we are taking, as partners, taking a much more active role of recent as we've become aware of issues and concerns that need to be addressed. And we plan to address them and to not be in a backseat position just because we're the, I guess, the owner and not the operator. So with that, I guess, if anybody has any questions, I'd be happy to answer them the best I can.
Commissioner Owens.
You mentioned your issues and questions. Have they not been addressed to you?
No, we are addressing every issue that there is. The noise issue has been well addressed, and we're, I guess my point in that is that, to be honest, some of these things took us a little bit by surprise when we became aware of them because we're not there every day, and we're in communication with the operator on a weekly basis, if not a daily basis, to make sure that things are happening.
Are you saying you have not had the same opportunity that Mr. Langley did to review this matter?
I'm sorry, sir?
Are you saying that the issues and concerns you have, that you have not had the opportunity to work with them as Mr. Langley has?
He's the owner. He's one of the 4 owners, and
Yes.
I think you're probably the first owner I've ever seen at a mine hearing, so kudos to you for coming. So I think what he's saying, and I may be mistaken, is that you are here to try to address on the behalf of the owners, some of the concerns that the engineers have been sharing with you and that the community have. And you two, he went with you and another neighbor, right? So I think this is the first, so,
Yes.
you know, and I think it's good for the owners to be aware of this. Maybe you need to open a school to school the rest of them who are not living around here that need to get down and see what's going on. I think you may have a better understanding.
Absolutely.
As an owner.
And as I got to see their property, it gives you, I joked with Mr. Langley that I didn't know I was coming to the Garden of Eden.
That's Eastern North Carolina for you.
But it does. It, you know, it's when you sit face to face with somebody and understand their concerns, you become a lot more compassionate.
Yes.
And I can't promise the world. All I can, you know, we had a great meeting. I mean, and we came together on some things that I think are beneficial, and yeah, we can't make it perfect for them, but we can do the best we can. So.
I understood, but he still didn't answer my question.
Oh, okay.
I'm sorry.
I'm not
He
sure
said,
either.
as being the owner, he had some questions and concerns, and I wanted to know, had he resolved those with to Mr. Langley's? He said partially, but you didn't say how much. Is that correct? Maybe he can solve the problems. That's what I'm trying to get to.
Not at all.
No, he didn't solve all my concerns, but he solved, I think, the most important concerns. And I think if he could solve the rest of them, he would. I think he's that kind of person. I really was impressed. When a man calls you, and he's on the other side of the country and says, look, I'm gonna make a special trip to your house. Can you meet with me tomorrow afternoon? That speaks volumes itself. But when you come, he took the time, Branch Goodson and myself, toured the proposed mine site with him. We talked about the buffers. How effective are those buffers really? Are they gonna stop all the noise? Well, we may hear an occasional blip out there, but I don't think it's gonna be beating and banging and keeping people up at night. I really don't. That's my opinion, and that opinion may not be shared by everyone, but it's my opinion. And I think Branch is pretty much in agreement with me. But there is a concern of how does it affect property value? What is the effect of the trucks running up and down the road? What is the future gonna hold? When you put a sand mine in your neighborhood, is it gonna go away when they run out of sand, or is it just gonna move over? You know, those are concerns. And I think that Jerry has done a great job in trying to address those. He can't possibly address all of them. But we don't live in a perfect world either. So.
May I ask a question, Mr. Chairman? And Mr. Gooseby, think of this for a moment. A lot of the homeowners on Shepherd Mill are complaining about the trucks going by and shaking the china on the windows and stuff. Is there any reason they can't use Satterwhite? I know that area. There's no houses on Satterwhite. It goes right to NC 30. It looks to me like they could drive that way. They need to, the road is paved, isn't it?
Well, they've been fixing for 10 years.
Okay, all right, but that's a valid way to stop the trucks going up and down to Shepherd Mill. And it's just up for the operators to tell the truck drivers, take that road. Duh. Thank you.
You'll have to answer that.
Okay.
Thank you.
Ms. Farley, there was a discussion about that at the planning board meeting. One of the board members had brought that up. And essentially from our standpoint, we just can't require that on the county part because we don't enforce, and once the trucks leave, we have no way of enforcing which way they go. They could, but it would be up to the operator to make that decision and make that part of their policy.
It seems like that would create a lot of goodwill if they were able to do that.
Yes, sir.
Maybe they could divide it up.
Yes, we have, last speaker, we have Charles Morton. Thank you.
Good evening.
Good evening. My name is Charles Morton. I live at 1523 Shepherd Mill Road, and I've lived there for over 30 years. When I first moved here, there were 7 houses on this road. Knew everybody. Everybody knows me. Now there are 17. So it's grown, but it hasn't grown a lot. People from one end of the road, and I know them, from one end to the other, they're not near the mine, but they complain about the noise. Most of the noise is the trucks. At the planning board meeting, they took some decibel levels from the mine to the people to satisfy the people that live on Ward's Bridge Road. Okay, they got their decibel levels, that was fine. The decibel level for speech, as I'm doing right now, is 60 decibels. The mine was running at 40 decibels. That all seems fine. I took some decibel levels myself of the trucks going by my house. The least one was over 90 decibels. The most was over 100. 100 decibels is the sound of a subway train going by. That's 4 to 5 times an hour for the loud ones. And that's every day. I'm retired now. I'm home. I get upset. But I can't have a conversation with my wife. That's not going anywhere. If the mine goes in, trucks are going to be there for the rest of my life, I'm sure, because they're just going to move over, take some more acreage. They're going to do their thing. There are over, from what I understand, over 20 active pits in Pitt County right now. I might be wrong, but I think I'm pretty close to right. How many more do we need? When the projects are done, the projects are finished, but the sand pits don't go away. They stay there until they're empty. I appreciate your time.
Thank you.
Can I ask a question? Just, do they not have to, they still have to go, and that's included in the contract, to leave it with the pond and the vegetation around it and that sort of thing is in the past, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Isn't that correct?
That's correct. As part of the mining.
That's part of the
As part of
mining,
the state
yeah.
mining permit.
Yeah.
They have, that's part of the bond.
Right.
And they post the
I
money.
just
and then when
wanted
it's-
that clarified, so it's
Right.
not just left.
Yes, ma'am.
Then I have a question. Of all the sand pits that have been opened and are closed in Pitt County, do 100% of them abide by that provision or that requirement?
That's part of the state process. And so I'd have
That's
to.
not
I'd
what
have
I
to check.
asked.
Yes, sir.
How many of them out there fail to do what they're supposed to do?
I would have to check.
There's a lot of them. So, we could say this, but the fact is, if the planning department or the Pitt County, and if it's some other department, doesn't enforce that, then it becomes an eyesore. And I don't know what the answer to that is, but with the roads, we put in a sand pit, heavy traffic, it does not step up the amount of timeliness that the DOT is going to come in there and repair the road. Most roads are geared towards so many years before they even think about coming back, regardless of its condition. And so when you put a lot more trucks on there, and the roads weren't really built to carry heavy trucks in that magnitude, that becomes a problem.
At this time, let me close the public hearing, and we'll hear comments from the commissioners to you, to Mr. Hilton, that will be addressed during the commissioner comments. So at this time, the public hearing is closed. Now we have the comments from the commissioners as well as Mr. Hilton.
This area, as you all, my colleagues have heard before, is an area that has buried gold, known as a product called sand. And Mr. Colson, Commissioner Colson pointed it out very well about the number over in that area that are open. The community is just sick and tired of the sand pits being left open and become a negative traction. The dumping, the ugliness, and all of that. We need the sand for development, I realize that. But there needs to be some meeting for those pits that are left ugly and become, because I'm told from county officials that they can't do anything about the dumps, the trash, the ugliness. And we have made a lot of effort to pick it up, to remove it, but it keeps coming. So I'm with the residents, and I know we need the sand for development, and I don't know how it's going to be addressed. But I want you to know that the gentleman who came from Wisconsin and increased this buffer, I like that, because I did talk with the person in the planning department who has a pond, and I asked for clarification about some of the terms that I may not be familiar with: burn, the buffers, and the slope, and then depths, and all of that. So I have a better knowledge of it, but it doesn't solve the problem with the highway, and it doesn't solve the problem with the ugliness. And I don't know who's going to patrol it, answer to it, but the sheriff department said that they can't do anything about the dumps out there unless they see them and they catch them. This is what I was told. So if they go out and there's a letter out there with the address on it, there's nothing they can do. So my thing of it is, there has to be some way, because if we clean up, spruce up, and make it look better, and it comes back from any and everywhere, it's not going to help the quality of our life in that area, where I know you got to get the gold, sand, but for some reason we got to have a medium. And unfortunately, that this company is addressed with these problems, but at least the owners of this is trying to meet the residents in some distance. And that's the first I've seen on this board. And I like that, but we got to have the sand, but I'm still with the residents. That's all I have to say.
Mr. Hilton, you want to speak to some of these concerns?
Yeah. To the point of what happens if the pit is not reclaimed properly. We actually, on this proposed site, we will have a $56,000 bond that, and every mining site in the state of North Carolina has a bond. This particular site, the bond is in the amount of $56,000, and that is it is commonly called a reclamation bond. And what it is used for is when you are finished mining or stop mining or file bankruptcy or die or whatever the scenario may be that would leave the mine in a state of disrepair, that bond is there in order to be cashed in or to be exercised to hire a third-party contractor to come in and slope the pits, seed the pits, and to, for lack of a fancy way to say it, make them look pretty. So I just wanted to make sure that everybody understood that it's not just the word of the operator that they are going to make the pit look pretty, reclaim it as they're supposed to, reclaim it along with the terms of their bond, along with the terms of their permit. If we don't do that, they'll take $56,000 and do it themselves. The state would. That would be North Carolina Department of Energy and Natural Resources.
One question that I want you to readdress, if you don't mind, was the situation on the NORS. It seems like the majority of the residents here in the area are concerned about the NORS problem. I know we had the decimal reading, and I think you said something else in terms of the trucks being not close, being further away from the residence area, but could you address that?
Well, what we've done to try to address the noise is we've offered to donate these two sections here, the 56 acres to the south, the 200-foot buffer running to the north and to the west, and then restrict ingress and egress from the site to the most northern boundary, to the what is currently in our permit as the Hall Road. That is going to be further restricted in the conditional use permit, that will forever be the Hall Road, and that we would not be able to later amend the permit and move the Hall Road closer to their house. We understand the trucks have to travel up and down the road, and that they make noise when they travel up and down the road, but we feel that we're doing everything that we can to have them make as little noise as they can coming to and from the mine. And to Ms. Langley's point that, I'm sorry, to Ms. Goodson's point that, you know, where were we, where was I specifically when the infractions on the adjacent mine occurred? There are several things that I would like to say to that. One, you notice that operator is not here tonight, and he's not here tonight because we are separating ourselves from him. If things don't change and he does not act in a very, very different way than he has been acting, he will not be the operator on this site. I was hired in conjunction with finding out about the issues and the infractions that he had single-handedly committed. I was hired to try to rectify that situation and shepherd these permits through, and to help come up with a plan and a management plan in order to stay on top of this going forward to prevent this from happening in the future. Because that was something that, as Jerry pointed out, that we were very much caught off guard. They were very much caught off guard by those actions, and we are taking steps now to rectify those and also to separate ourselves from that operator so as to prevent those types of things from happening on this site.
Thank you. Ms. Copeland.
I appreciate you pointing out about the bond. I think all of us on the board already knew that there was a bond, but we're talking about 138.54 acres that are going to be disturbed. $56,000 is like pocket change. So my point is, it's an insufficient bond to absolutely guarantee that a property will be taken care of. And if you go to North Pitt, there are some areas that have been reclaimed and they got houses around them and they look great. It's actually added value. But that's not all of them. I'm going to say that's probably not the majority of them. So some of us are just a little skeptical about going forward with another sand pit when we already have 20 some active. Where does it end? On top of that, it's going back to what I originally said about the roads. There's nothing in the DOT of North Carolina that forces them to keep that road up. The residents are going to be driving across roads that are going to be seriously deteriorated in all likelihood. The problem is the DOT just doesn't have enough money. I happen to be on the RPO. I go to virtually every meeting. I see and hear what's available. And frankly, there's just not enough money for them to do everything they got to. And so consequently, things like this, they wait 20, 30 years. So, and that's nothing you can control.
Sure.
But it is a problem. And it has led to other problems in Pitt County on roads that deteriorated that you can go down right now where they used to have sand pits, and the roads are in bad shape because of the truck traffic. They were not prepared with the subgrade to be able to carry the loads. Many of the roads are actually just put basically over the ground with almost no substrate added to it to give it any structural stability or draining. And again, I know it's not your problem, but it is a problem that the residents in the area are going to have to put up with.
Well, that's something that on past sites that we've worked on and that we'll work very hard on this site to stay after the DOT to maintain those roads, because we want them in as good a shape as they can be as well.
You can beg all you want.
Yes, sir.
Appreciate that comment.
Let's invite the state guy up.
Mr. Owen, and then I want to invite you, state representative, to come.
The mining operation, did you say you disassociated with that?
No, sir, we did not. I didn't mean to imply that we had disassociated with it. What I was saying was that we are in the process of disassociating ourselves from that operator, and the operator that created those problems on the other
Is
mine.
the operator of that one on the adjoining property, is that the Pitt Creek mining?
Yes, sir.
Is that on the same property, adjoining property?
It is one large property removed.
Well, the Pitt Creek mining operation has been part of the problem with all of these problems that these people have had. Is that correct?
That's correct. Yes, sir.
Thank you.
I'd ask the state representative to come if he would. I think you had some comments you'd like to.
I was just going to address the question about the bond. The bond amount is set forth by the state, so.
That doesn't guarantee that it's sufficient.
Right, and the state will not release this permit, like as he's already stated. They come out and inspect routinely to make sure that the slopes are right, it's seeded, vegetated, and everything like that. And I'd have to double check, but it's currently the first 15 acres is all that's bonded. I'm not sure if you want to know. So the bond amount would increase as you expand through the rest of the acreage.
So what is it currently?
It's 56,000. I should have added this earlier. It's a great point. It's 56,000 for only 15 acres. Only 15 acres of the site is under the what they call the bonded permit, and so that bond would only apply to those 15 acres. So when you went,
How much of the area has actually been disturbed? How many acres?
none of it.
None of it.
No, sir. We are not able to start our mining operation until we obtain this permit, our state permit.
But what were you going to say if it went further than
So when
you can get the money for that?
No. Well, I'll say it a different way. If we mine that 15 acres, and let's say we're in the middle of mining the 15 acres, and we say we want to bond another 15 acres. Okay, there would be an addition, or we wanted to get a permit, is what you would call it, a bonded permit on additional 15 acres. We would have to put up an additional bond, totally separate and distinct from the first bond, for that additional acreage.
Okay, but on that same subject, but Mr. Chairman, I'd like to ask, who in Pitt County is responsible to contact the state for all of the other areas north of the river that have not had apparently somebody go to the state and, hey, this is a problem? I mean, if the bonding money is there, what's happened? So is that the planning department? Are they the ones responsible to inspect it and make sure that it's right and then go to the state if it's not?
Eric, you want to answer that question?
We would only inspect the mines that we've permitted under the conditional use permit process. But the reclamation process is entirely under the state. And they have, as
You know what this sounds like, though, to me?
Well,
it's government washing its hands of itself, saying, oh, well, it's not my problem anymore.
We'd be happy to serve as the middleman if any of the residents have concerns about mining operations out there, they think they're not meeting the guidelines, contact planning department, and we'll contact the state and ask them to come out and inspect it.
Because that's what the
And that's
problem
what we
is.
do anyway.
And we have contacts with the state, with Department of Environmental Quality, that is the ones that oversees the mining operations. And if there's any sites that are of particular concern, we can take those and we can forward those on to them and have them conduct an inspection of it.
Then could we not, or would it be improper for me to request that our planning department go to every sand pit that has been opened and closed in the last 35 or 40 years and take a look at it and see whether or not it has been properly handled? And if it hasn't, then they set the ball in motion to get the state out there to do something about it. If it's 40 years old or 35, it may be too late.
Come make a recommendation. Maybe we first ask the state to provide us a report of all of the sand pits in Pitt County they've inspected and see what that report says, and then go from there to see which ones we may need to go out and look at or not.
I like what he said.
That's good and well, Tom, but that doesn't solve the problem we
I know it
got
doesn't.
here.
I know it doesn't. But the thing is we can perpetuate the problem here, or we can try to take steps of doing stuff using past history and past shortcomings as a barometer as to what can we do to actually fix it in the future to where we don't have problems on this one as well as others that may come before us.
Partially answer your question about the bond. The beneficiary of the bond, whoever that is the one that's going to have to implement impugning that or bringing in results from it. And I don't know who the beneficiary of the bonds are. But that's another question.
The beneficiary is probably the state of North Carolina.
That's the reason you don't have anything.
That's the problem. That's the problem right there.
I have a feeling that, and I want to thank the citizens and the community, because I think that this has probably been the best vetted mine operation that we have had. I've learned, I thought I knew, because I've sat through a lot of them, but I think I've learned more than I have before, and I feel it's, as you said, it's not going to be perfect. There's no way any operation like this, any industry that you bring in is going to be perfect and satisfy all of the, check all the boxes. But with that said, I feel like that we're in a better place to make our decision tonight than we have been in a long time, and therefore I'd like to make a motion that we approve this.
Do I have a second?
I'll second that.
Okay, it has been proved and properly second that we have approved this motion, and I think it entails both, two motions on that.
Right.
Yes, sir, we do have two motions that we're recommending. First, that the application is complete and complies with the requirements.
Both motions.
The second
Both
motion
motions.
to approve the request.
All in favor of said motion, let it be
Mr.
known.
Chairman,
Which one are we voting on?
let's review the additional conditions. Is it just the two listed here?
We have the two that were listed in your packet, and then also a third to provide a revised site plan for that new buffer that was proposed by the applicant.
But didn't we also include in our discussion earlier that the Sunday operation would be 9 to 12 only?
That was on the Hatcher mine.
That was on the other mine?
Yes, sir, that was on the other mine. There aren't any proposed hours of operation for this mine.
Well, I think it should probably be on this mine also. And I would like to propose that as an additional condition. I think that's what the community was expecting it to be on both mines. They really wanted it closed on Sunday, period, but we compromised on the 3 hours, 9 to 12.
Yes, sir, and that was on the Hatcher mine, and that was mainly specifically due to the existing noise complaints and the concerns that were already on that mine itself. But with this one, we did not propose any additional hours or additional restrictions on the hours of operation.
Well, if it's appropriate and it can be dealt with on Sundays, 9 to 5, 9 to 12, excuse me, I would accept that as an addition to the
I would like
motion.
to have that as part of the motion.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
by way of discussion on the motion, I'm not impressed with the fact of the specific conditions that we're going to do with these. There's been some talks about various and different concerns of the people, and then the company, the operator has tried to change that. But I think, and I talked before the meeting tonight with the county attorney about you can have these conditions on it, but if a problem arises, I think that the receiver of the permit ought to be well aware that this board can come back and request that the permit be withdrawn. Of course, there's a certain amount, I talked with Janice about that. We didn't get a conclusion on that, but I think that the people still need to work a little bit. Like, they made a lot of progress. You got the owner of the mine here is trying to work. You've got the operators that are trying to work. You've got the community trying to work. Would it do any good for them to get back together, Jimmy, like we did on another one?
I think it would be good for us to have all of the conditions that we are agreeing to on a piece of paper so we can all see them and the community and the mine owners totally understand what we're agreeing to.
Well, we did it last time the same way, this way.
You wrote it on notebook paper, I gave it to the county attorney at the last meeting where we had the conditions. I'd be happy to do that now, if that's what we prefer to do.
I would be okay with that.
It's okay
because
with
the
me.
Just as long
condition
as
that
it's,
I remember making a lot of discussion was the Sunday operation. And I just wanted to make sure that the community had a peaceful Sunday as possible. And I think that was the only other condition
that
that
was
we
one of the
discussed.
concerns.
Right.
Now,
At
can I
our
speak
last
a little
meeting.
further to Jimmy, though?
Yes, sir.
I concur with the reservation and your reverence for Sunday. But from what all these people talked about here, the problems that they're talking about is every day, Jim. And I don't know, he's talking about putting it on the paper. I don't know what they are either. That's why I brought up what I did.
Right, but, and the noise, the everyday noise is being addressed by the electric motors.
That's on another matter.
Well,
We don't have, this, we need to make one major distinction here, is that this site, geographically compared to the site that we have been dealing with, are very, very different. One, the site we've been dealing with fronts on the paved road, okay? Two, it has no timber buffer. Three, up until recently, it had no screened buffer. It had no earthen berm. Okay, we've recently installed that. This site is going to have all of those things. The site will be greater than 1,800 feet from the paved road. The previous site, it abuts the paved road. We will have this timbered buffer, which the previous site did not have any buffer, timber buffer at all. And there will also be an earthen berm along one side of this site. So the state permit and the natural geographic features of this site are very, very different from the other site. We don't have any problem with the Sunday operation. If that's important to the board, important to the community, that's fine with us. The noise issue is going to be handled significantly, if not 100%, in the distinctions between the previous site and this site.
that Sunday operation is important to the community. It was brought to me before we even started the meeting. I didn't remember, and that's when I asked Commissioner Garris, could he recall? I've been in a lot of meetings. But the Sunday from 9 to 12 was approved, and nothing from after.
Okay.
Mr.
And you're going to address that, Commissioner Huggins?
I have a question about the noise. Now, Commissioner Farley suggested that you use, which road was that?
Satellite Road, which really doesn't have any houses on it.
So why not include that in one of the
I
recommendations?
think Mr. Gooseby objected to that, saying we couldn't do that.
It does run into an area that's more populated down near Yankee Hole.
Runs NC 30 through farm.
I don't know.
Yeah.
But if you look at the map
just
that's
asked the
provided, you
question.
see a lot of
sorry.
smaller parcels there. A
Mr.
lot of them.
Chairman, one of the things, it's hard not to, as he just said,
We'll get through.
the mines are very different. As I've never seen a mine with this much of a vegetated buffer. If you've gone up and down the highway, the Farmville Highway, those trucks are gonna go. And whatever's gonna be done with those roads by the state, I have no clue. But it's the overpass that's being built. It's in the Aden, it's on the highway to Farmville. I go there at least once a week. And yes, they're going continuously, and if I lived right there on the highway, I know that it has got to be aggravating. But that is part of what comes with these mines. And as you said, it is mine gold for these people who can't grow crops in that sandy soil. But anyway, I think with the addition with the Sunday time, Mr. Farley, as my seconder, I assume with your nod of your head, you're accepting it, and
The three conditions that I've written down here to give to the county attorney are: there will be buffers with no timber harvesting in the 53.98 and 17.83 acre sections, and these will be added to the mine permit as additional buffers. The haul road will be restricted to the northern haul road, which is currently permitted, and forbidden to use any alternative route.
that's
And-
the one that came right out the middle, and that's not gonna ever happen.
That's correct. And I would word that as you will use the northern haul road and you won't use any other haul road, and then you wouldn't be able to use anything but the current permitted haul road.
That's the exit from the mine.
That's correct. And the entrance. And the Sunday hours of operation will be restricted to 9 a.m. to 12 p.m., 9 a.m. to noon.
Mr. Chairman, I also have the two restrictions that were in your agenda packet as well, which is to obtain a no-rise certification for any portions of the mine located within the non-encroachment area and to comply with all applicable NCDOT requirements.
Okay.
And as it relates to the Hall Road, I think as Eric was speaking to, while I believe we can restrict the area within that permitted land, we can't necessarily control which direction that truck turns or travels once it leaves the site, because that would be very, we don't have the authority to enforce on those public roadways. But I do believe we have the authority to restrict pursuant to your permit on the property itself.
I believe, Mr. Chairman, that addresses most of our concerns except the traffic noise. And the traffic noise, I don't know how we can address that. I have the problem, I have that problem where I live on 43 South and heavy trucks, but now the road, 43, is built to a heavier standard than these roads are. I recognize that. But the noise from the trucks, I agree with you, because I can feel my house shaking when those loaded trucks go by on 43. So I really, if we're going to have a progressive community, a growing community, a developing community, we're going to have trucks running up and down the road.
Okay, that's fine.
Okay, with that said, with the necessary additions to that, Madam Attorney and Madam Secretary, all in favor of the said?
Mr. Chairman, are we voting for each motion separately, or are they
The
grouped
two
together?
motions in here.
Together.
Let it be known by raising your right hand if you're in favor of it. All opposed?
That passes.
Okay. Madam Attorney, what did it?
That passes.
It passes. Thank you very much. Motion.
Thank you very much for your time.
Yes.
never did hear what the hours of operation were going to be during the week.
When you come to the mic, sir.
7, isn't it 7 to something you just read it?
We said dawn to dusk, I believe.
I think it's dawn to
Didn't we say dawn
dusk.
to dusk?
We did not, in this motion, address
That was
the
the
hour.
other
No, but I thought there was
Yes.
something in
Yeah, the
here.
state rules say dawn to dusk.
Okay, but I thought there was
I
something.
didn't hear them in those conditions identified. That's why I was
We did.
raising a flag.
Not gonna run at night, sir.
By default, the ordinance says from 7 a.m. to 6 p.m.
In the ordinance, where is Eric?
Correct.
That's-
Eric?
The ordinance only imposes hours of operation when there's
For
blasting
blasting.
involved.
Okay.
And so sand mines don't involve blasting generally.
Did he say blasting?
It doesn't need.
But on the other one, and I keep getting confused on the two mines. The other mine, we specifically stated dawn to dusk, didn't we?
I think it was sunrise to sunset.
Okay, sunrise, sunset, because that was an identifiable time.
Yes, sir.
Can we include that, make us a
You
whatever?
have an additional motion on the floor to add an additional condition.
Okay.
You may so move.
Would you-
I would move that we add that additional condition so that it would be totally identified and understood.
I second it.
Okay, it has been moved and properly seconded. We add that additional condition so that it would be implemented immediately.
And that's sunrise to sunset.
Same as the other one. Sunrise,
Dawn to
sunset,
dusk
right?
or whatever you
Because I
said.
think somebody had a chart at one of our meetings that there are exact
lady had.
times each
Let's
day.
vote.
that is easily identifiable.
And we'll get with the legal staff about the language on the previous one, just duplicate that language.
Okay? With the same language.
Yes, sir.
All in favor of the motion, let it be known by raising the right hand. All opposed? Motion carries. Thank you.
I'm sorry. Could you do the opposed again?
Those opposed, raise your hand.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Now, we'll move down to items of report. Items of report.
I knew that one would be a hump.
Oh, yeah. I think we all did.
This situation.
We down here to number 9, right?
The kind of grace sentence like a
Page 55,
manager, everything. Doesn't it?
Yeah, number 9, there, 55.
Okay, let's go.
Do it.
Motion to approve.
Okay, Mr. Holder.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, and to the board. On page 57 of your agenda packet, you will find a letter from the Government Finance Officers Association awarding Pitt County its second annual Government Finance Officers Association Award for Outstanding Achievement in Popular Annual Financial Reporting. And if this board will recall, 2 years ago, the county embarked upon the generation of an annual document that would capture our end-of-year performance measurements, a spotlight on some aspect of our community, as well as provide a very summarized version of our end-of-year financial reports. And with the generation of that report, we applied for the award for outstanding popular annual financial reports, and we're happy to report that this is our second annual award-winning document. It has been very popular, and we encourage you to continue to use it as a communication device for our citizens. We do post it on our county website, and we do anticipate generating our third consecutive, hopefully award-winning document at the close of the current fiscal year. Want to definitely thank our budget and grants staff, as well as public information. Our public information office was very instrumental in the presentation of this document. It's very attractive, very catchy, and we want to thank them for their support in the generation of this document as well.
Mr. Chairman, I want to sort of clarify that all the counties in North Carolina do not make this effort and do this.
They do not. As a matter of fact, I looked it up, and I think there are currently only 5 counties in the whole state that generate a popular annual financial report. Though it is more popular outside of the state of North Carolina, it's becoming more popular inside the state.
It's I hope everybody has used it and looked at it. If you are ever invited to speak or whatever, there's a lot of good information in there to share with citizens, and it also helps you answer questions that citizens have when they call. So, thank you for doing that, and the whole county, because I know you didn't do it right by yourself, but you had a lot to do with it.
Motion to accept the award.
Second.
Second. Has been moved and properly second that we accept this award. Those in favor, let it be known by raising your right hand. Those opposed. Very good job, Ms. Holder, and your staff. At this time, Kathy Booker, the collection report.
Good evening. I'm happy to report to you that our collection rate is at 99.02, which is higher than it was last year at 98.78.
Motion to approve the report.
Second.
It has been moved and properly second that we approve this report. All in favor, let it be known by raising your right hand. All opposed.
Just
Motion
to,
carried.
to further note on that, she's exceeded through 11 months, even the rate that we were after we ended 12 months last year. So we should, by June 30th, we should be somewhere north of the 99.02, but you've already exceeded last year's total combined cumulative.
The last years are very slow, but we are very happy to be ahead with 1 month left to go.
Correct.
Thank you.
Job
Good
well
job.
done. Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Appreciate you. Okay, Ms. Manager?
Mr. Chairman, just a few things. Next meeting dates, month of July, you will only have one meeting. That'll be on July 17th due to the July 4th weekend, as well as the National Association of Counties Conference. That'll be a 9 a.m. meeting. Then in the month of August, your first meeting will be on 7th at 9 a.m. Item B is just information for the board. The Hope Station Recovery Innovation Facility, which is a county-owned facility on Memorial Drive near the ABC store. We've been leasing that to Hope Station for probably, gosh, good 6, 7, 8 years. They've given notice that they are planning on moving as of June 30th. We're looking at other county uses for that facility. We're currently in discussions with the Sheriff's Office to possibly move their patrol division from 9th Street, which is a leased location, to this location, so we could give up that lease payment per se, that rent payment, and move it into this location.
Right.
On the next page, as you're aware, I believe the clerk has been in communication with the board, and I've spoken to the board about the request of the Greenville City Council to hold a joint meeting. Right now, I think the August 17th date is being proposed. I believe we're looking at a late afternoon meeting, possibly 5:30. We'll be nailing that down. There is a proposed slate of items from the city, and they're asking for items from the county, and I've heard from 1 or 2 commissioners items that you'd like to see placed on that agenda, animal services being one of those. Item D, we received from the North Carolina.
But it didn't say where, it said to be arranged.
Right, we're looking at the city had proposed in City Hall. I said I would really like a more neutral location.
Oh, okay.
So we're nailing that down right now.
So Kimberly gonna let us know, because I won't find it if I don't.
Yes, ma'am, we'll let you know.
So is that August 17th?
August 17th, tentatively 5:30, but we'll have Janet or Kimberly will follow up to confirm that with you.
So will we still have a review on that day?
Yes, we'd still do a 4 o'clock review, unless we need to change it. We can always be flexible on that. Item D, you may have heard going to the different functions of the State Association, the North Carolina Association of County Commissioners. Obviously, President McClure's initiative in his term as president is on opioid abuse, and there is a county leadership forum that is being asked to be conducted in each of the 100 counties in North Carolina. We have received the formal packet from the association that sets out their recommended prescribed method of how to hold that forum within your county. We've received that, and we'll let the board know we're going to follow through on that and start making preparations to conduct that forum. And obviously, we'll invite and involve you as a board, and we'll have more information coming forth on that, but wanted you to be aware of that.
This will be a public venue, wouldn't it?
Very much a public venue, widespread participation in this forum, trying to come up with community solutions to fight this opioid abuse.
Okay.
Item E, just wanted to give a quick report on North Carolina General Assembly. There's been a proposed committee substitute to House Bill 403, and I've asked Janice if she would just kind of address that real quick.
Yes, just very briefly. Last week, Trillium, our mental health LME, reached out to its partners to seek support for opposition to a bill, a committee substitute to House Bill 403, which proposed to dissolve the LMEs within 2 years. And so wanted to make you aware that as a result of that, after talking with the manager and deputy manager, chief financial officer, that I did reach out to Senators Davis and Pate to express our concern about the committee substitute on the basis that although the bill was primarily started to control expenditures and salary levels within the mental health LME, we didn't have any concerns about that portion of the bill. When it went into the health committee, a substitute came out that aggressively transitioned the Medicaid model to a managed care model and phased out the LME over 4 years, then accelerated that phase out to 2 years with specific language to dissolve the LME and revert all of the LME assets to the state for the state's use. And so we expressed our opposition to that, that the change was too expedited, that it needed further study and further input from the other stakeholders. And typically, we wait for the board's direction before we reach out directly to our delegation. In this particular case, because there was concern that there would be action on it last week, we went ahead and expressed the concern, and then wanted to report it back out to you today that that's what we did. The bill now sits in the Senate Rules Committee, has not had any action since last week, and I'll continue to monitor it and keep you advised. But we were concerned about the county's investment in our LME, and while we absolutely support some of the efforts to be sure that the system is running as efficiently and effectively as possible, that twist was very concerning to everyone involved.
Very good. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, one other item. Just want to remind the board this Saturday, June 24th at 9 a.m. will be the expansion celebration, ribbon cutting for the Leroy James Farmers Market on County Home Road, and encourage anybody who's able to attend. We're basically doubling that space. And if you recall, this is from a grant from the Perkins Wells West Foundation, where they provided $100,000. The county put up $100,000, and the expansion is very nice.
Very good.
When was that?
Thank you.
This Saturday, 9 a.m. at the market.
Very good. Thank you. Encourage everyone to participate in that. Items for consent.
I move for acceptance.
I second.
Has been,
Mr. Chairman, we do have one item on the first one needs to be pulled off, and I think Dwayne needs to add an item to that first budget amendment.
okay.
Okay. With that pulled off, I move for acceptance.
Second.
All in favor of the said motion, let it be known by raising your right hand. Those opposed?
Mr. Chairman, may I ask one
Ask
question?
carried. Motion carried. Yes, sir.
On page 7 and 9 of the agenda, your buyouts of about $867,000 for 5 pieces of property. That comes about $173,000 per piece for the 5. Have any idea what those tax values were on those 5 pieces, Scott?
I asked staff to come up that worked on the submittals.
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, I think I know everybody, but for those of you I've never met, my name is Brian Jones. I'm a planner with the planning department and then the floodplain manager. So specifically, I want to make a distinction about this hazard mitigation grant. This is actually from Hurricane Irene, not associated with Hurricane Matthew. So basically what happened with Hurricane Irene, we had some projects that were funded back in 2011, and typically what happens after the projects run out, it's a 3-year term. So once those projects run out, the state will determine if there's any monies left over that we have, and if we had any projects that were.
I'm not questioning what you did. I'm just trying to find out.
Sure, and I just wanted to make that distinction. But that was from 4 years ago. So, but typically those are running about $90,000 to $110,000 a piece. So we may not use the entire allotment, but that's what was funded. So.
But you're not going to split this $867,000 amongst 5 pieces of property?
It won't be even. No, sir, not evenly distributed. It'll go through. We'll do certified appraisals, and we'll make the offers based on the appraisals.
So your information a little misleading, isn't it?
The information is from the state of North Carolina is what we're.
I think we're booking the whole $867,000, but may not use all of it. You're saying?
Absolutely.
So you will return the balance to the state?
Yeah, it will go revert back to the state of North Carolina General Fund.
I can look it up sometime, Scott, but I just like to know what tax value we're losing from these buyouts.
We'll provide that to you.
Thank you. Thanks, sir.
Okay. Items for decision.
We needed first on the first budget amendment for Dwayne to address it if we can.
Okay.
That you pulled off.
All right.
Yes, sir. I think the clerk did distribute one additional budget amendment to each of you. It's a budget amendment for solid waste. It is also part of our year-end accounting, and this is being driven primarily because of an increase in grinding fees it does request approval for appropriation of that enterprise fund balance to make sure that that budget is not out of compliance at year end. I will bring to your attention and remembrance that our solid waste director did request for the addition of a grinder, a piece of equipment, in his capital improvement plan request. And so he's seen that because of the sharp increase in the rise of those grinding fees, that it makes more sense for us to do it in-house. I think he already said that what he spent this year would pay for the cost of a grinder. So
there's one additional $602,000 solid waste year-end budget amendment that's covered by their fund balance, of which is, I think we said on the 20.
About 22% currently.
Right. This would reduce it 1% to about 21.
20 to 21%.
But this would not happen again next year because the piece of equipment that has been put in the CIP you approved through this budget for the grinding will take care of this issue.
And the increase in the fees occurred after the budget year started, so it was not foreseeable that we'd see such a sharp increase in these grinding fees.
Again, fund balance restricted to this enterprise fund, not related to the county's overall fund balance.
So we need a motion on this?
Yes, ma'am.
So moved.
Second.
Moving properly second that we accept this. All in favor, let it be known by raising the right hand. All opposed. Motion carries. Thank you.
Yes, sir. On the items for decision, number one, the CDBG project, infrastructure project for the Candlewick Area Sanitary Sewer District. We have Rich Moore with McDavid and Associates, and this has been a long road on this project, and we're hopefully coming to you tonight, hoping that you will, after hearing the presentation from Mr. Moore, consider taking action to move this project forward. We are technically under, we need the monitors on if we can, please. Thank you. Needing action on the board to move this forward. You are under a deadline from the state. You did apply a month or two ago to extend the deadline in terms of approving a contract with a contractor to begin work. The clock that is really ticking on this is with the federal government in terms of this being a CDBG, Community Development Block Grant. We have to have this project completed by, Rich?
June 11th
of 2018. So we are, the state may be saying they're willing to push back this decision tonight, but I really highly doubt the feds are going to push back the federal clock.
That's correct. So, again, Mr. Chairman, Board, Commissioners, my name is Rich Moore, and I work with McDavid Associates. We are we're the engineering firm that we're contracted to provide technical services and program management and administration activities related to implementation of your 2013 Community Development Block Grant Infrastructure Program, where funds have been allocated to address sanitary sewer needs within the Candlewick Area Sanitary District. What I've provided in your package is a lengthy handout. I apologize for that. Basically, as a brief history, we had received bids on the original scope. Bids exceeded available funds. At your April 3rd board meeting, you voted to reject those bids, and Contract 2, which was represented by the portion of work that Greenville Utilities Commission has agreed to participate in, was rebid after some restructure. No, you're good. The bids for the revised Section 2, or I'm sorry, revised Contract 2 were received on May 23rd of 2017. Based on the rebid process, the low bidder is TA Love & Company out of Goldsboro. And based on the low bid, project expenses exceeded available funds. So through a negotiation process with TA Loving, we've developed two options to provide an award scenario that reduces scope and attempts to address as many concerns as possible within the community.
Rich, if I can interject, as you recall, this is actually the second bidding process, and maybe he had mentioned this when I stepped out, but this being the second bidding process, we brought the first set of bids to you, which we asked you to reject so we could rebid it in hopes of getting a lower bid in the second bidding process. When it was bid the second time, we were not necessarily bidding apples to apples. There were some changes in the bid specifications trying to save some money, but unfortunately, in the second bidding process, which we're coming before you tonight, the bids were not lower, they were higher. So we're having to deal with that in terms of the two options that he's going to present to you tonight. We'll show you what we are able to do with the money available based upon the second bids that were put out.
Exactly. And so we've condensed all of that into two options in the slide presentations I've got, and there are two separate award packages that are in your agenda package. The first option, which you'll see on this map exhibit, the area shaded in yellow represents what we were going to refer to as option 1 award scenario. This would involve construction of the proposed regional pump station located on Stantonsburg Road, which is kind of located to the east of the easternmost portion of the project area. Extend sewer down Stantonsburg Road, and then go northward up and then provide extensions along Bunch Lane to serve homes primarily in the Bunch Lane community, which is in the Pine Ridge subdivision. Option 2, which is what this slide projects, again, builds the primary regional sewer pump station, extends sewer to the west down Stantonsburg Road, and then carries the sewer southward into the Candlewick area, which is the primary Candlewick subdivision. So primary difference, and you can kind of see the service area. Based on either option, we approached all of the funding participants with the options, with the budgets, with the information that's in your package for a determination to make sure that they were on board with either option with regard to eligibility and with regard to potential action from you as a board. We've obtained concurrence from the Division of Water Infrastructure, which is the primary funding agency, obtained concurrence from Greenville Utilities Commission, and obtained concurrence from the Candlewick Area Sanitary District. And based on the evaluation and review of the two options, as we have met and discussed, it's kind of been the concurrent recommendation that you consider award of option 2. Option 2 provides the following summarized. 1, it offers better potential for expansion to serve the entire Candlewick Area Sanitary District, which provides expansion to the northwest, south of the existing Candlewick service area. Option 2 provides a greater service to identified failed septic systems. The objectives of the HUD program, you had to meet 2 objectives. 1, you had to meet a low moderate income percentage of at least 51%, and 2, you had to address a critical health need, which in this project is represented by failed on-site septic systems. The third recommendation is that option 2 provides a more competitive phase 2 CDBG infrastructure application where Pitt County can apply for CDBGI funds for essentially what would be referred to as the option 1 area or any other area in September of this year. And I would point out that a September application, if we see the same costs that we got for our current bid, would not represent a full funding or full service area to the entire Candlewick, but would certainly go to add potentially more homes to the service area, where our ultimate objective is to try to serve as many people as possible in Candlewick Area Sanitary District. And finally, option 2 makes sewer available to a larger footprint. Option 2 serves 25 lots versus 21 lots that are identified in option 1. And that's a quick down and dirty summary. Your package includes a recommendation of award. It includes a detailed budget. It includes a bid negotiation memorandum that quantifies the reduction in scope that would have to be signed off on. And I'll be glad to go through as much of that budget or as much of the information in whatever detail you would like. I'm here at your disposal to answer any questions to the best of my ability.
Thank you very much. Commissioner Garrison.
This option 2 is more aligned with what the what the Candlewick community asked for
7
way
years
back
ago.
when this started, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so they are supportive of this.
Yes, sir.
The bunch, we kind of added that along the way to get, to maximize as many homes as we could, which we were all totally supportive of, but the money just isn't there to do
Well,
that.
in full disclosure, the Bunch Lane was added to the application to try to get the low and moderate income numbers up, as
Yeah.
well as some concentrated need, I believe.
What we
right?
were trying to do, yes, as Mr. Elliott has pointed out, we added the bunch lane in an effort to increase the low moderate income percentage, to try to best position the application overall to be funded as we could. Not saying that that was the reason it was funded, but I can't fight that perception, because certainly it was funded when Bunch Lane was added. But, you know, we are where we are budgetarily wise, and we're trying to just serve as much as we can serve.
And also that area was then subsequently annexed into the sanitary district.
That's correct.
To be part of the formal district.
That's correct, and part of the waiver request to the city of Greenville for annexation.
So the additional opportunity for to request funding in September, would that money cover that bunch area, or would it be less than?
It
did I
could,
hear you say?
yeah, it could, based on the unit prices that we received on the first construction contract, it would cover the limits for that Bunch Lane area. With hope, we would get lower unit prices and could seek to add some other areas, potentially along Stantonsburg Road or some of the other areas. We would recommend arbitrarily, again, recognizing to concentrate the higher areas of low moderate income to make sure that the Bunch Lane was included in some type of Phase 2 application.
Mr. Chairman.
Okay. Commissioner Ward?
This has been on the table a long time. And we appreciate all the effort and all the work, and no one can help that the price went up. I do think that option 2 is the one we should go with. I'd heard what was said relative to the state, you know, that we could get them to push that back, but it's not just the state. We're dealing with the state and the federal government.
Right.
And we've got a timeline. We've got to get started because the deadline is what?
The deadline for
2018?
completion is June 11th of 2018.
Right, so it's just about a year. So with that said, and I'm ready to get this thing started, and I would like to move for us to accept option 2 for us to move forward with the Candlewick Sanitary District.
That's been moved and properly second that we accept option 2.
One more question.
Yes, sir.
Can we finish this project by June of 18?
We better.
Okay. Are you the responsible person to make sure that happens?
I'm one of the responsible people.
You are the responsible person, okay?
I'm the person standing before you. So, yes, in this board's mind, you know, Rich Moore McDavid Associates would have a lot to explain. So, and I accept that.
All in favor of the said motion, let it be known by raising your right hand. All opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Thank you.
We do appreciate it.
I think we need to have a party.
I
think we need to have a party. I didn't think this would ever come.
Item number 2, voting delegates for the annual conference. Commissioner Farley had questioned that he may want to be the voting delegate. If we have anybody have any other concerns that if not, we are.
I'll be glad to nominate
Okay.
Mr. Farley.
Okay. Can we get a second?
Second.
As we're moving properly second, that we nominate Commissioner Farley for the voting delegate for our annual conference. All in favor of said motion, that be known by raising your right hand. All opposed? Mr. Farley, congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you, Jimmy.
The Pitt County Travel Policy Revision. Twain, hold it if you would.
Mr. Chairman, and to the full board, what we have before you is a proposed overhaul or major revision, if you will, to our county's travel policy. I would just bring to this board's attention that the travel policy has not, it was established in January of 1999 and has not had a revision since that time. There are three main areas that we are looking to revise and update with this travel policy. The first thing is to clarify the applicability of the policy, to make sure that we explicitly state that it not only applies to employees, but also any advisory board members or board members were not originally included, but have by practice been included. So we clarify that in the policy. The second thing is the inclusion of tips for reimbursement for meals. And lastly, which is the major piece of revision, is an update to the meal reimbursements in the travel policy. We have historically, since 1999, had a per meal reimbursement of $5 for breakfast, $8 for lunch, and $15 for dinner, for a maximum of $28 per diem. We are proposing in this policy to bring our meal reimbursements in line with the state reimbursements as was established at their last biennium budget. And if you will look on page 165 of your agenda packet, you'll see the breakdown. It is proposing, instead of the $28 per day allotment, to increase that to $37.90. Again, we do cite a July 13th, 2015 Office of State Budget and Management memo establishing these meal reimbursement rates, and we would propose to update the rates by the CPI factor or CPI index at June of each fiscal year. If you recall, we do utilize the federal reimbursement rate for mileage, and we update that as the state update, as the federal government updates their mileage reimbursement rates January of each year. So with that, we would entertain a motion for, or ask for a motion for approval of the updated travel policy.
You have your motion.
I second the motion.
Has been moved and properly second that we approve of the revised travel policy. All in favor, let it be known by raising your right hand. All opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Thank you very much, Ms. Holden. Reappointment to the Pitt Greenville Airport Authority.
Mr. Chairman, I would move that we reappoint Dr. Jim Marsh to the PG Airport Authority Board.
Second it.
It's been moved and properly second that we report Dr. Jim Marsh to the Airport Authority. All in favor of the said motion, let it be known by raising your right hand. Those opposed? Motion carries. Very good. This time we have the commissioner comments. We'll start with Commissioner Webb.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just thank you for putting up with my coughing tonight. I have a sinus infection. I'm sure y'all enjoyed the reduced comments.
Very good. Ms. Coates? Mr. Williams?
No comment.
No comment tonight.
Mr. Floyd?
No, sir.
No.
No comment.
Oh, well, I just have to say, I was pleasantly surprised with being awarded the Long to the fact that I just didn't have anything to say. But
Congratulations.
Thank you. I really appreciate my girls initiating that. And thank you for participating and carrying out their wishes.
You're welcome. Thank you. Congratulations. With nothing said, can I entertain a motion for adjournment?
I so move.
I second.
Moving properly second that we stand adjourned. All in favor, raise your right hand. Those opposed? You're now adjourned.
Is that clock right?
Jimmy,
Is that clock right?